Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. The Big Daddy D is here, and I've had this game on my ever-increasing pile to play and review for a while, so let's just get straight into it. Wolverine is my favourite member of the X-Men, and is one of my favourite superheroes, full stop. So it's great to finally see him in a game where the kid gloves are off, and everyone's favourite short, hairy, violent Canadian mutant gets to do some serious 18-rated damage. It's violent, gory stuff, and it's the game that Wolverine fans would actually want to play. The release of the game coincided with the movie of the same name, and usually a video game adaptation of a movie isn't very good at all. So when you consider that this is a video game adaptation of a movie that is itself an adaptation from a popular comic book, alarm bells should start ringing right away that this sounds like a recipe for disaster. But X-Men Origins Wolverine is one of those rare games that actually break that mould. It easily stands out on its own, and it's actually more entertaining than the film was. X-Men Origins Wolverine is an intense, ultra-violent, fast-paced, non-stop, action-packed video game. This is the Xbox 360 version we're looking at here, but it's available for a load of other formats as well. The plotline of the video game actually goes further into the Weapon X project than what the film did, as we're introduced to some of the other living weapons that have been created in that secret underground military lab where Wolverine got his adamantium from. There are also some additional characters from the comics that weren't in the movie. Mystique crops up during the game to give Wolverine some trouble, and boss battles include having a scrap with numerous Wendigos, and even a Sentinel. Adding to that comic book feel, Wolverine also has a number of his classic outfits that he can unlock and play around in. The game flashes back and forth between Wolverine becoming a living weapon as part of the Weapon X program and his escape from that facility, to flashbacks to his missions in Africa when he was on better speaking terms with his brother, Victor Creed, aka Sabretooth. As a result, the locations in the game don't have too much in the way of variety. You're either poking around ancient temple ruins in Africa or a high-tech military lab. A bit more variation would have been good. The game plays like an arcade-style hack-and-slash beat-em-up, where Wolverine basically attacks everything that moves and can earn various upgrades throughout the game that will give him access to new moves and abilities, more health, quicker healing, etc. Wolverine has also taken a page out of Batman's book by having his own version of the detective mode, known as Feral Instincts, which will guide Wolverine on where to go next in the level, as well as locate some of those pesky enemies with camouflage suits. There's a number of platforming and puzzling sections to get through as well, which helps to sort of break up the combat. These turn out to be challenging, but not too frustrating. There's a great level of presentation and care put into the game, in particular with Wolverine's mutant healing factor. Wolverine takes visible, real-time damage on his body, and you can actually see his body healing and regenerating as the game goes on. You can see right down to his bloody skeleton at one point, literally his bloody skeleton. It's like the scene in X-Men The Last Stand where Jean Grey is attacking him and burning the flesh off his body, but he just keeps on re-healing and keeps on going. Because of the healing factor, most enemies won't give you too many problems, although there are times during the game where the graphics can look a little choppy at times. Yeah, it's not technically brilliant, especially when you compare it to the likes of the Batman Arkham games. But this is still a damn sight better than some of the crappy games that poor old Spider-Man has found himself in over the last few years. The game contains a few music tracks that were also on the movie soundtrack, and a number of the actors from the film have returned to reprise their roles for the cutscenes as well. What stood out for me in this game though was some of the best laid out controls I've ever come across for a fast-paced video game like this. It's incredibly easy to pull off the special moves and combos in the game. I became familiar with the controls to the point where I didn't even need to memorise any button combos, and slashing heads and arms off soon became second nature. Worrying. It's very rewarding when you spin around like a helicopter and mutilate everyone in a half-mile radius. My personal favourite move was the lunge, as not only were there a lot of enemies completely helpless against this move, but it was also a good way of covering some distance between Wolvers and his prey. There's even some environment-based methods of dispatching your foes as well, such as impaling them on a forklift truck. Fun. In fact, there are hundreds of ways to tear your enemies apart, and most of the achievements are based around the sheer number of ways that you can kill your enemies. It's definitely a good game for picking up for boosting your gamer score, if anything. In short, Wolverine himself plays like a dream. There's some terrific button mashing, but there's also some skill required as well. Countering moves, blocking, jumping, lunging, learning new special attacks. You'll need to combine all this stuff, as some enemies will require different tactics and strategies to overcome them. Nothing really brings you back after beating the game. I can't say that I was compelled to play through it again, as the game is rather simple. Truth be told, I've played smarter games, I've played better games. But what I did have with this game was a whole lot of fun. I wouldn't say that I would necessarily pay a fortune for this game myself, and if I'd have gone out and bought it when it was brand new and paid about 30-40 quid for it, I might have been a little bit pissed off. But to be honest, I got it second hand for a fiver at Computer Exchange, and I was happy enough with that. You should be able to get it fairly cheap as well by now. If Wolverine and the X-Men are your bag and you enjoy action-packed video games, then this is the ideal title for you. A great action gaming experience. I would recommend that if you can get your hands on this, then certainly do so. Wolverine, X-Men Origins Wolverine gets a thumbs up from the Big Baddie D.
Hey, Doc. This turns out to be a trap. I will hunt you down.